them in place. They keep us in chains. By show of hands, who else is sick and tired of the same? 1% trying to keep us small, trying to keep us from getting out. Minimizing the struggles they've caused, saying we're not working hard enough.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the thousands in attendance and for the millions watching at home, DCK Productions proudly brings to you the greatest podcast in the world! The greatest podcast in the world? Suck it. No, you suck it. No, you suck it. No, you suck it. No, you suck it. I appreciate it if you both suck it. Suck it!
We really should stop this fighting. Otherwise we'll miss the fireworks.
There won't be any fireworks.
And here we go.
And welcome everybody to Suck It. I am the great and powerful King of Kings, Prince of all that is awesome. Derek, how is everybody tonight? It is a thirsty Thursday, Friday Eve, September 3rd of the shitty ass year that is 2020. Less than 4 months left. The countdown has begun. So how is everybody? Hope you're enjoying your week. Hope you're ready for the weekend that starts tomorrow, or most of us anyway. But tonight, we're going to kick off the weekend a little bit early with a fantastic guest. And a guest that has a hell of a background and hell of a story, and I can't wait to get into it. So, my guest tonight is a former Army helicopter pilot. He is a current life flight pilot and an actor. Dude is just all over the place. So I cannot wait to get into everything with him. So please welcome, without any further ado, oh crap, Mr. Steve Hamm. Hey buddy, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's my pleasure. My pleasure, dude. I mean, like I said, you've got a hell of a story, so I cannot wait to get into it with you. So how's everything going for you, man?
It's going well. Actually, really, really well. It's the past few months have actually been really incredible. I've kind of taken stuff into my own hands as far as my acting career and stuff, and it was a good thing I did because it's stuff's happening, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
But overall, I can't complain. Everything's great.
Yeah, stuff is definitely happening for you. So, and I'm really excited for you because just the opportunities that you've had in life, and then the transition that you've had is kind of exciting. I mean, I had a lady on a few weeks back who's a former, Army as well. And now is starring in roles in films, starring Shia LaBeouf. I mean, it's like, that's just amazing to me. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's just go right into it.
Right.
So how many years did you spend in the Army?
I did 23 and a half.
So you're retired. You're officially retired, yeah.
Correct, yes.
So when did you actually say, you know what, I'm going to make, the Army my career?
Well, let's see. So when I was still in high school, my dad actually wanted me to join one of the military academies. And it was a good thought at the time, but, I was a rebellious teenager, and you don't really think about big picture stuff at that point. So I was kind of dragging my feet and stuff, and he was just getting frustrated. And finally he's like, okay, fine, do what you want to do. So instead of joining I was still groomed for the military because my dad was in the Air Force for a few years. And I did, 4 years of high school ROTC and stuff. And so I was used to the military kind of way. So that was a natural segue into, well, I'm going to join the Army. And I'm not sure why I picked the Army of all, but I did. started off as a helicopter mechanic, and did that for about 8 years. And then, once you're running helicopters and pilots a lot, you see what they do. You get the bug to want to go fly. So the Army's got this program opportunity where, you can go and apply for flight training, regardless of your background. So I applied, was fortunate to get selected, and the rest was history after that. So.
What I find funny about that is actually you and I have a very similar history with that. So I actually did 4 years of our Army Junior ROTC as well in high school.
Okay.
In Florida, and I was actually going to join as well, and be a helicopter mechanic as well.
Really?
Dead ass serious.
Wow.
That is what I wanted to do, because I wanted to also go Ranger as well, and do a lot of different things. Oh yeah. Yeah, I had the Ranger option, I had my airborne option, but unfortunately, I got rejected. I was going to do an early enlistment, but I got rejected because I have a lazy right eye, and at the time, they were all about saying no to me. So, unfortunately, fortunately, unfortunately, because I probably would have died, because I'm a cocky, arrogant bastard. No, I'm just kidding. No, but
Ranger, all kinds of Rangers are like that, though. So.
Yeah, we are. But I was gonna, so I ended up not enlisting, and obviously, but so yeah, that actually interests me a lot, because that was something I always wanted to do, and the moment I got rejected, I turned into the rebellious teenager, because now my entire life's dream was crushed,
right.
And then I kind of went on a completely different path, obviously. So you did your 4 years of ROTC, and then you said, maybe I'll just go ahead and join the Army.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So what made you decide helicopter mechanic?
Well, actually, it based on a GT score, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with, the general technical score. It was high enough for a variety of things, and I was start looking at aviation stuff, and that just appealed to me. So I'm like, hey, this would be kind of cool to work on helicopters. So let me go with that. And I'm glad I did. It's a very interesting field to get into. Not only did I learn about mechanics, basically, turning wrenches and all that kind of good stuff, but you learn, about the aircraft. You learn some aerodynamic, principles and stuff like that. And it's a unique field to get into, essentially, compared to anything else.
Yeah, it really is. I have friends that graduated before me that were in RTC as well, that have gone on now, that are, one just actually got promoted to lieutenant colonel, and is a helicopter, pilot as well. And it's just like, damn, it's just, all these people went ahead and did all these great things, and it's just amazing to me. I have a friend who's a captain now, who's somewhere in the Middle East. She won't say where, but yeah. But all my friends, I would say the majority of them did end up enlisting as well, and they just had great lives. So you did your 23 years.
Yeah.
So what all in that 23 years did you end up having to do?
Well, everything was pretty much operations normal, as they call it. Just your typical, training exercises during the year, whether you go into the National Training Center in California or like JRTC in Louisiana, just practicing for when, something's going to happen. And then, of course, once 9/11 happened, I was actually over in Germany at the time. And it was like, oh, wow, this is going to change the landscape. We just weren't sure to what extent. And we started, getting these classes on desert operations and stuff, but they weren't like being forthcoming, saying, oh, by the way, we're going. They're kind of like always like shrugging it off. It's like, well, okay, you won't just teach these classes for nothing. That's kind of a waste, just come on, say it. But they didn't want to. So finally, we did find out that we were going to go, and it was pretty much right after the turn of the year, when all the movement orders started coming out for everybody. So, and the thing with me is that I was like slated to come back to the States around that time, but so I got involuntarily extended for a few months. So I actually had to go over there, do some work. But the problem with being over there so early is that nothing is really set up properly. So trying to get phone calls back home is ridiculously hard. The time change and all that kind of stuff. So you're basically working with bare minimum, or maybe sometimes less than. But I did finally get to come back home after that first short tour. But after that, I think it just, the whole thing just changed because now, the Army did year-long deployments overseas, and a year being away from your family for a year is tough. I mean, some people couldn't even fathom, being gone for a whole year. You're missing birthdays, you're missing all the kinds, events at home, and maybe even holidays. It's grueling. I mean, you get like a mid-tour leave, but you come back and you're still on that time change, so you don't really get to adjust to that. Next year you're coming home, and it's a rough adjustment. So, but yeah, 9/11 changed everything, and my last deployment, they asked me, so, what do you want to do? Are you staying in or are you getting out? And it was kind of a hard choice because I spent a quarter of my life in the service, dealing with that institution, and but there was just several factors that I was thinking about and facing. I was like, the writing's on the wall for me. I just need to get out and just do it. So it was scary. I mean, the transition was a little tough, but I did my time. It was time for other people to go and fill the shoes and do their thing. So.
Gotcha. And we'll go more into the transition later because
Okay.
that kind of stuff is interesting to me. So from there, you got out. And at one point, did you say, hey, I think I want to become an actor?
Yeah, that's like the big question I get from everybody. And, I don't know where the idea came from. I would know I was about 6 months out from actually officially retiring. I think it was about 6 months. And I don't know where the thought came from. I'm like, acting sounds kind of cool. I said, I don't know where it came from. I have no idea. The only thing I've done any kind of acting was I did a summer semester in doing a theater project in high school, and that was it. That was my only exposure to it. So and that was kind of fun. But I said, I had this thought, so I did some Google research, and I was in Tennessee at the time, and Nashville has several acting workshops, or I guess acting classes, acting offices, people that are just teaching acting. And I just, scrolled through them, and one kind of stood out to me. It was called the Actors Workshop, appropriately named. And it was run by a guy named Alan Dysart. And he used to be a full contract player for All My Children back in the day.
Okay.
So now he's doing this. And basically, he brings in local talent. He helps train them, mold them, essentially, puts them on tape. But then he sends that tape out to larger regional or national people, to see, if they're willing to take them on as clients or as talent, basically. So I did a weekend workshop with him. It was basically doing cold reads. And for anyone not familiar with that, you get a script, you just act out the scene without having anything memorized. And so it basically tests an actor's, I guess, aptitude to deliver a scene as best they can, just based on what they've read and what they know. So I did 2 days of that, and I got bit by the bug. And I'm like, I really want to do some more of this. So that's kind of where it all started.
Gotcha. So from there, where did you end up? How did you end up getting your first acting gig?
Oh, geez. Let's see. Well, I did know once I finished that there's no real pay in acting when you first start out. You get paid little to nothing, all that kind of stuff. So, but I was in the process of transitioning out, so I was actually job hunting as well. So I was fortunate enough to get picked up by a company up here in Ohio for Life Flight. So that's kind of the natural transition for helicopter pilots to go into the EMS service, basically. So I was fortunate to have a seamless process into that field. And it's a lot different, flying, armed reconnaissance helicopter and doing EMS. It's just a totally different world. So you kind of have to learn those subtle nuances as well. But so I got up to Ohio, got established, I got myself, in with the company and everything else. And then just in the fall of that year, I found some acting agencies, or say talent agencies, in the Cleveland area. And one kind of stuck out. So the one that I'm signed with right now, Pro Model and Talent, I did an open call with them, and they either liked my look, my personality, or whatever it was about me. So they said, we'll take you on, and if you want to do it. And I said, sure, why not? And I've been with them ever since. So, but the first acting gig, I guess I had to say the first speaking role I've ever had. That's probably the biggest thing for me was there's a director named David Walker of Walk Star Productions out of just east of Cleveland area. And it's kind of interesting how I got this because, sometimes acting gigs come up in the weirdest way. So I saw a friend's Facebook post that she had commented on a post about, being thankful that she had gotten cast in this movie. And I liked her post or her response. I congratulated her for it. And then he messages me within like a half hour saying, hey, the guy that I had cast for the certain role, I can't find him anymore anywhere. He's not able to be found. You fit his type. Would you be interested? And I was totally shocked. And I was like, well, sure, why not? Maybe. So he sent me the script. I read it, and it was the language was a bit much for me. I mean, it was very brutal to another woman. Basically, she was my wife in the scene. And I was like, but at that point, you're just like, you don't want to take almost anything you can get. So I agreed to do it and did it. But, it was an independent film. We shot it in a park somewhere. It took, about maybe 2 hours. But just being with someone else in that scene it was invigorating and liberating. So from that point on, I'm like, yeah, I definitely need to pursue this even more. So that's my first speaking gig. And the name of the movie is called Crisis in the Valley, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. Okay.
Yeah.
So first off, let me go ahead and rewind. So you're in Ohio right now?
Correct.
Whereabouts?
I'm in Sandusky. It's in between Cleveland and Toledo.
I was born in Ohio, so.
Okay. What part?
I was born in Oberlin, and I was raised in Lorraine.
That's funny. I've flown into Lorraine many times in a day.
Yep, my house that we grew up on. We were there until I was 8, I think it was. It's literally 2 blocks away from Lake Erie, and it was just the greatest thing ever. I'm right
by Cedar Point. I mean, like I'm a 10-15 minute drive from Cedar Point right now.
Yeah, so. I love it up there. My wife would never allow us to move up there, but I love it up there.
I can't say I blame her. The weather here can be a little unpredictable.
Yeah, I mean it's that lake effect snow coming off of Canada.
Right.
I mean it's just it's brutal. I still remember winters just dumping, a foot of snow within a second, and it just piles up. My wife was born and raised in basically West Palm Beach, Florida, and getting her to move to Virginia was hard enough as it was.
Hey, I'm from Florida originally, so we don't see snow down there. So I come up here and I just get the full effect of everything. So yay me.
Yeah, I mean, I spent 20-some, almost 30 years in Florida before we moved up here. And I could not get away from it fast enough. I absolutely hated it in Florida with a passion.
It's humid, but I mean, it's not that bad.
It's not even the humidity. I mean, I'm not built for heat, I mean, coming, like I said, right where I was at, but it's more the people. I mean, especially in the Orlando area where I was at. I mean, it's constant tourism, constant traffic.
Oh, yeah. Well, Disney World's right there, so.
Oh, my God. It was just bad. I mean, I loved visiting Disney World. That's the only thing I miss. The only thing I miss less than that is my mom, but.
Okay.
I'm a stand-up comic. What do you want me to do?
Yeah,
I make fun of my mom all the time.
Yeah. More power to you.
So how did you end up doing Lifelight?
Well, like I said, the normal transition for most helicopter or military helicopter pilots is EMS for the most part. Either that, or you get a transition to go fixed wing and to go fly commercial airlines. So I was basically on LinkedIn a lot, just networking and trying to find jobs. Seeing what's suitable out there. And I was still actually one day just sitting in the office at work, in Tennessee, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, he's got a relative that's a mechanic up in the Toledo area, and they're looking for pilots for this company." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And so he gave me the info, and I set my stuff in, and it was months and months went by. I didn't hear anything. I'm like, well, I just kind of, forgot about it. And the next thing you know, I'm sitting, in my den on my phone on LinkedIn at like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, doing my stuff, networking, trying to find jobs and stuff. And I get this phone call, the Toledo area code. I'm just like, who's calling me on a Sunday morning this early? Well, it turns out it's the chief pilot. And I was like, holy cow. So we had a conversation, and he was telling me about the company, and I'm like, of course I'm interested. And so basically I set up a time to go up for an interview. So I drove up and did a face-to-face with him and the director of operations and stuff. And we did a kind of like a courtesy test flight, if you will, just to see how my flying skills were and stuff, based on whatever my resume said. So it was a little bit different for me going from a single engine aircraft to a dual engine aircraft. So that was interesting. Plus the way that they do some of their flying is a little bit different than what I'm used to. So, but I'm definitely more of that conservative type is how I fly, because I'm used to only having one engine. So, but the flight went well. Came back in and then talked to some of the other more seasoned pilots in the company, and I left there. And on my way home, he calls me and says, unofficially, we'd like to offer you a position to take the weekend to think about it. And I was like, okay. And so went home, spent the weekend mulling over it, and I think it was on the following Monday. I said, hey, I'm interested, and perhaps the rest is history. So,
going from the military, and you didn't really say what your job was as far as being a helicopter pilot goes, but now you're flying ambulatory vehicles. So how does that? Obviously, I don't know if you did that in the military, but
No.
So now, now you're not only responsible for lives, but now you're responsible for injured lives getting there quickly.
Right. Yeah.
That first time that you did that, that you were the pilot on that call, and you were the one
Yeah.
picking that person up.
Yeah.
What went through your mind?
Well, I'll be honest with you, it was a little scary. We do because the military doesn't believe for aircraft to do single pilot operations. They're always about the teamwork. Pilot, co-pilot. That's the safest way to do stuff. And I can agree with that to a point. So I was always used to flying with somebody else. Now in the military, I guess just to kind of backtrack a little bit of that. So I flew the OH-58 Delta, which is a armed reconnaissance helicopter. So we had this ball on top, a sight basically. It had TV capability, it had thermal capability. It could shoot a laser out and stuff for laser guided munitions. And we carried either a combination of like machine gun, rockets, or Hellfire missiles. So any kind of combination that we could fly with. So our main focus though was to go out and look for stuff and find stuff. But if we got into a little predicament, a little firefight, we could put a pretty good punch back in and then regroup and hopefully send some like the Apaches out to take care of business. So
yeah,
it was very methodical. And you had a single engine, and you had to always think about weight and balance, and all this other kind of stuff. But it's a great group of guys. The CAB is just an awesome group of people. So my hat's off to all my fellow CAB brethren out there. To go to EMS though, so now I got two engines, which is awesome. But we also, fly with the med crew. So, and then, and these guys, they're top-notch, medical people. I have no medical training whatsoever. So, I hear, terms and vocabulary, and after a while you get used to hearing it. But what's going on in the back, and stuff, it doesn't affect, how I'm flying. So, everyone gets the same treatment essentially. And my first time doing a transport, I have to admit, it was scary because we do single pilot stuff. So we have an autopilot on board, which is great, which allows us to do single pilot. And once you learn how to use it, properly, then it's a great tool. It really is.
Wow. I just can't be imagine, paramedics, EMS, they're the unsung heroes of the medical field, and
absolutely.
They really are, and for you to be, basically responsible for them and the patient is just, it's crazy. I can't imagine having that job.
It's a huge responsibility that I don't take lightly. It's not your average job. It's very unique, obviously. And there's a lot of preparation that goes into, any shift that we go into, like for instance, I'm actually, I got a shift tomorrow actually that I'm doing pulling some overtime for a guy who's actually on vacation. But so the day before, I got several weather apps on my phone that I check to see what the weather is going to potentially be like the next day. So I get an idea of that before I even go into work. And then once I get there, I'm dressed, ready to go for the call, just in case it does come when I get there, which is always 50-50 sometimes. But, I have a mental checklist of things that I have to do, to get ready. There's paperwork to get filled out. You got to pre-flight your aircraft, brief your crew, and a multitude of other things too. So it sounds like a lot, but, and at first it is a little bit overwhelming, but once you develop a system routine, which, pilots do, we have like checklists, either written or internal checklists that we follow. And go in, do that, make sure it's all done safely. Crew gets briefed and all that stuff, aircraft looks fine. And then, you wait on the call. And, I find that, when I'm at work, you do everything you can. So when the call comes in, you're ready to go as soon as you can. So you end up, we work at the base for 12 hours and, you don't get a chance to like say, well, hey, I'm punching out for lunch and go away for an hour. That doesn't happen. So you learn to kind of eat your meals a little bit earlier, or snack, as appropriate when you get hungry and stuff, because you could be gone all day or you can stay there all day. It just depends. But you find you're eating early, you feel the inclination to use the restroom. You go when you feel you have to go because you'd rather not have to, if the call comes in, it's like, oh man, I need to go, do something first. But the call comes in, you do whatever you got to do, and you get the aircraft out and you go. So I think a lot of stuff for preparation for EMS world also translates into the acting world as well.
So how do you balance, acting and doing that at the same time?
Very carefully. Very carefully. Basically, EMS, it's a week on, week off type of job cycle, which is very unique as well. So I do like 3 days, and then it goes into 4 nights. So, but this is my off week right now, but I am pulling a couple of extra shifts. So, but normally during my off week, is when I'm mostly dealing with acting stuff. And if a casting call is coming out, I look at it, and hopefully there's some dates when they want to either have an audition or when they're going to film, and I have to cross-reference that with my actual work schedule. So if there's a conflict there, obviously then I don't even bother with that casting, because I'm not going to try to make them work around me. It's just not fair to them. So hopefully when a casting comes out and something does work in my favor, then I put in for it and go from there. So. But obviously, when I'm at work, then that's where the focus is. So,
yeah. So how much of acting have you been doing since the pandemic started, or do you have anything booked, going forward, or what's going on?
Well, there is one thing that's on the horizon. They haven't done much with it because of the pandemic. Let's say indie projects are just a lot different than the big projects that the studios have and stuff. So,
correct, yeah.
I haven't done a whole lot lately, but I think because of that, it's made me refocus my efforts. So I've been taking stuff into my own hands, to get myself out there. And, other than, the PR firm, which is helping out a lot, obviously, as we talked earlier, but then I have a new acting coach as well. And, Shannon Yankserek out of LA, she used to be associated with my agency as well, but she is phenomenal. I've had about 3 or 4 sessions with her now, and I've had some real big breakthroughs with her as far as script breakdown and character analysis. Just kind of reworked in my mind how to work a script out. People think you get a script, memorize the lines, and then you go and do your audition, and that's actually totally backwards from her way of thinking that she's taught me now. So. She sent me a script, or a part of a script the first time around, and the first 2 sessions, we don't even work about memorizing lines. It's about asking questions, about the scene. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about your character? So whatever the script doesn't give you, you need to go into your imagination and develop something, so that when you go into the audition room, you have in your mind, who you think the character is, because even the production crew or the director, or whoever, may not have an idea what they want yet. So correct, yeah. You make a bold choice, you go in there, you deliver your performance, and then you also have in your back pocket, you prepare like multiple different levels, as they call it. They're like, say, well, what about the guy does this? What if he does that? So you can able to, change it up a bit and kind of give them maybe what they want, because you kind of already thought about it and rehearsed that. And so when you have that character in your mind and how you want to deliver it, they can see that, the camera can see that, and obviously having the lines memorized helps as well. But there's a difference between being good and being great. So that's what I've been focusing on. And the last session I had with her, I mean, she actually one of the tricks she taught me is before you say your lines, think about whatever emotion that character is probably thinking at that time and say it out loud to me. And I did that, and then she allowed me to ad lib a little bit with the lines. And she goes, "Man, that performance was like, it gave her goosebumps," she said. So I felt a breakthrough with it too, because I was able to tap in just to some of my prior experiences, dealing with certain people and bring that out. So it was really good.
That's pretty awesome. So is there a point in time where you're going to focus solely on acting, or are you going to continue to do both?
No, I'm gonna do both. I really enjoy the flying life play. I enjoy the set flying, helping people. So I'm gonna continue that, and the acting's on the side, and hopefully whatever project comes around that that I'm good for. They can hopefully work around me. I mean, I know that may sound a little bit selfless or selfish, but I enjoy the flying, so I want to do that for as long as I possibly can. So
yeah. Oh well, I mean, you can always be the John Travolta of indie films,
That's right. I mean, he flies commercial airlines too. I mean, come on.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, right.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that at all. And actually, it's not. I don't think that's selfish. I think that's pretty admirable, especially the career that you're in now, as far as that goes. I mean, that's again, there's a lot to it, and it's you're responsible for a lot of lives, and
Right.
I mean it's more admirable than anything. I think it's not like you're a NASCAR racer on top of it. It's
Right,
yeah. I mean it's something completely different. So I definitely don't think there's any selfishness to it at all.
I also think that at my age, that I know what I want to do in life for the most part. Although my wife may disagree with me on that, but that's where how I want to balance it out, and hopefully the right projects will come along that that can support that, and as I go further. So
let's back up a little bit here.
okay.
So getting out of the military after 23 years. What was that transition like, going from being an active soldier, fighting in, in the war and all this other stuff, and now you're a civilian. That transition, I know, affects a lot of people mentally.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What was that first 6 months like for you?
For me, honestly, I guess it wasn't that hard per se. I think my hardest thing to deal with was that when you're overseas in that kind of environment, when a decision's made or whatever, you're expected to execute, right then and there, no questions asked, and things happen quickly. And then you come back to the States and everything slows way down. There's no one shooting at you. There's no war to fight. So getting used to not being at 150% all the time on any given day, I think it was the hardest for me. I think if you're like infantry, a ground pounder doing foot patrols all the time, it's a different scenario for them, because they dealt with possibly losing a limb or losing a life before never coming back from that patrol ever on that day. So a lot harder for them, I think, for sure, or anyone in that kind of on the ground per se. So yeah, I think just things not happening as fast as I was used to them happening. So civilian life is just totally different from that.
Yeah. I mean, I know some people that were, how long have you been married?
Right now it's about 2 years on my current marriage. So unfortunately, my first one kind of fizzled out. So
I gotcha. And that's actually was gonna be my my point there. I know some guys that got out after 10 years or even 15 years that were married that entire time, and then going home to live with that person it was a completely different scenario as well, because I mean they were home, maybe 6 months a year at a time, or and then get deployed or been moved and whatever else the case might be,
Yeah.
and used to living with their bunkmates all the time, and then going home to live with this person that is a huge transition as well. I mean, just that constant, that huge drop off. I mean, I mean, do you suffer from PTSD at all, or no?
No, no. I don't. I mean, I didn't suffer when I get back either. From there, I mean, I think the only thing that I kind of had it for a while there was a shorter temper, shorter fuse about stuff, which I never had before. So, but I learned to cope with that, and now I just I don't let things bother me like I did before.
Yeah. Um, it's just that again that transition, because I mean even with my lieutenant colonel in in junior RTC, I could see it. He was out for good 15 years. And, he spent 30 years in the military and another 20 years in the school system. So I mean,
Jeez.
yeah, he was around for a while. I mean, he only
Yeah.
recently retired completely. But I could just see the struggles that some of them went through. Talking to some of my friends now. I mean, I have a friend, the lady I was talking about earlier. She's deployed. Her husband's actually special forces. So I mean, I've seen what he's gone through and stuff like that,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's just rough.
Yeah, the special ops guys, they're getting hit the hardest. I mean, if you're a Navy SEAL for that matter, you're pretty much gone, you know, 270 days plus out of the year, whether it's training or clandestine or whatever missions, so their wives, they got a tight knit group and they got a good, support system going. But, that's tough. I mean, for those that, have stuck in and made a career, kudos to them.
Yeah. Did you ever consider teaching ROTC after you got out?
I did. The only problem is, I don't have a degree. So, and that's the only thing that I kind of wish I did take the time to do was get a degree in something. But I think I was a little bit too lazy to do it. I mean, I did start several attempts throughout my time there. I never really finished it up. So one of the requirements is that you did have like a bachelor's degree, and
Yeah.
there were some openings that were around that I could filled easily, but because of that kept me from it. So in a way, I guess it was kind of a blessing in disguise. So now I have the great job that I do.
Absolutely. I mean, well, two great jobs. I mean,
Well, yeah, right.
yeah. I mean, the acting gig alone is superb, and then on top of that, the the lifeline. I mean, I still can't get over that. I mean, that's just kudos to you, brother. I mean, that really is.
Thanks.
So as far as the acting goes,
Yeah.
what's been the biggest hurdle for you?
Man, biggest hurdle. That's a good question, really. Well, I think I have to admit that, when I first started out, there was stuff in the pipeline for me doing well. And then it seemed to kind of fizzle out a little bit. And then you start getting these ruts, it's like, so how do you get back at the game? What do you got to do? And, I mean, my agency, Pro Model and Talent out of Akron, and the owner, Mary Sclamba, shout out to her and her team. Aubrey Caldwell and all them. They're great people. They do their best to train you up to be ready for the industry. They give you classes and stuff like that. But they tell you that when you first start out, we'll give you these classes, but you still got to beat us halfway. You got to put forth the other 50%. So you have to constantly keep up with your stuff, and that's the thing a lot of people don't realize is that all they see is the award shows and the glamour and everything else like that, but they don't see what goes on up to that point to get there. I mean, even these A-list celebrities, they're still getting coaching from people out in LA. Obviously these are like really top-notch expensive coaches really, but they still get coaching for their roles. I mean, now they don't really have to audition anymore when they get to a certain point. Obviously they just kind of get recognized by their performances. But yeah, so agency is great with the training, and I meet them halfway. So like today, I went and just got some new headshots done because it's been a few years, and Mary, she's very intuitive about the business. She's been in it for a long time, and she puts out constantly, hey, make sure you get new headshots, update your resume, make sure everything is current on it, let us know, keep us updated on stuff. And it's that small stuff, admin stuff, the business part of acting that you have to really keep up with. And it's kind of like a part-time job, really. So I think, at one point I was kind of faltering on that. And then you get into this rut of like, okay, woe's me, or, maybe I should quit. And everyone thinks about quitting, probably multiple times in their career because, they see their friends getting booked for stuff and they're not, or they're getting auditions and you're not, But if you're not constantly training, if you're not putting stuff out there and working on your craft, then, you're only hurting yourself. The agency can only do so much, a rep can only do so much for you. You got to put forth, and be ready to go when the time comes, But you've got to be able to accept rejection, and that's like the hardest thing I think for anyone. I mean, any kind of normal job, you put a resume in, and your resume is what gets you the job, basically, not how you look. Well, acting is different. Your look kind of gets you in the door in the first place, and your resume kind of follows that. So there was I always try to mention this during any interview I do. There's a YouTube video with Bryan Cranston. I'm not sure if you've ever seen it or not, but he gets interviewed. He's like in this bookstore or something, and the interview says, tips and advice for up and coming actors. And he said his breakthrough was always thinking that when he went to an audition, he had to book the job. So that was like this chip on his shoulder, or whatever weight he had on his shoulder, that he had to book the job. And he's like, that's not the case. You go in there, you get the opportunity it's your room for that period of time. You deliver the performance that you think is best based on whatever bold choices you make. You give it the best you can. You walk away and you forget about it. Everything else is out of your control. So by the fact that if you don't care that you get the job or not, you're able to, be vulnerable and give, an authentic performance. And he said once he started having that mindset, he started booking work, and he's been working like crazy ever since. Of course, it helps if you're in LA and stuff already. You have to do that kind of stuff. But I developed that mindset, and and it works. So I congratulate other people on Facebook that I see that have auditions or they book roles. Hey, good for you, great. That's what we all try to do, support each other. So, I mean, my time will come. I know it will. So I just got to keep focused, keep motivated, keep the drive going, keep the hustle going, and just do what I do, and stuff's going to come. So that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you look at like Bryan Cranston as well. I mean, prior to Malcolm in the Middle, what did he really do? I mean, not much.
No.
He was somewhere in between our age around that same time. Same thing with Zach Galifianakis and stuff like that. And even with Bryan Cranston going back, even after Malcolm in the Middle, he only had bit parts here and there. He had a small reoccurring role in How I Met Your Mother before he finally booked Breaking Bad.
Right.
But then even after Breaking Bad, what has he really done? It's a constant,
It is. It's a constant battle, constant struggle. There's no guarantees in the business. And that's something that, that actors struggle with, is that, when you book a job, your fear is, okay, when is this job going to end and what's my next role, So it's that constant competition. And, there's only so many jobs to get filled or roles to get filled. And you got tens of thousands of actors trying for that one role, So it's just competition. But the thing is, the older you get, the pool gets a lot smaller, so I'm not fighting against as many people in my age group really for certain roles. So unless I was like 25, then I'm really kind of screwed.
Yeah. I was listening today to one of my favorite podcasts. It's actually the podcast that's done by Donald Faison and Zach Braff, the two actors from Scrubs.
Right.
And they do it's a podcast called Fake Doctors, Real Friends. And
I've heard of it.
Yeah, they were talking about, today they were it was a while back, I'm a little bit behind, but they were talking to what was his name? Hold on. The TV show. Hold on. Cuz this actually was a pretty interesting conversation. Kind of pertains to this. Tom Cavanaugh. They were talking to Tom Cavanaugh, who played JD's brother on the show, or Zach Braff's brother on the show. And Tom Cavanaugh now has one of the lead roles in Flash on the CW. And he was talking about how, even though at that time when, on, Arrow on the CW was huge and they spun off the Flash and stuff like that, he went into it thinking, oh, this is just going to be another, 7 run and then be canceled. I mean, and then Zach and Donald were both like, yeah, I mean, even when they signed Scrubs, they were both like, oh, 6, 7 episodes were done. And it's like, thinking back to that, it's like, damn, I mean, they got their breaks and they were still, thinking, oh, this is it. I mean, it's just going to be a short run and be done.
Yeah.
And, and then they're like, holy shit, we went 9 years. And it's like,
yeah.
And it, same thing with Flash now. It's going on its 6th year, I think it is, or something like that. But it's like, no matter how much, how good the ratings are, no matter what the team is behind you or what anything else like that, you just never, ever, ever know. And that's a scary, scary thought to think that something that could be so perfect could be completely out of your control.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. I like to watch a lot of these interviews from, these established celebrities just to hear how they got cast in something. And, it's always unique to hear their stories. And actually just a week or two ago, I did an interview on another podcast for a guy up in Canada, Meet Me for Coffee, I believe is what it's called. And I was, redoing my research on him. And the first video I saw come up was he interviewed Kim Coates from Sons of Anarchy. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're familiar with that show, right?
Yeah,
yeah. So he talked about, so how'd you get cast for that? And I mean, it's a crazy story because, he goes in there and, meets with Kurt Sutter and everything. And he tries for the role of Clay. Obviously he's too young for that. And he tries for a role of the guy with the mohawk. I forget his name, but he tried for his role. They said, yeah, it just isn't working out. He's like, well, appreciate the opportunity. Thanks. And walks away, and said, best of luck with the project then. So go 6 weeks into the future. And he's on the golf course playing a game, and he has his phone off. But he finishes the game, turns his phone on, and it's like blowing up. So his manager's been calling him, his agent's been calling him, his wife's been calling him. So long story short, basically, after he did his performance, they liked it so much. They already had the pilot shot. They decided to reshoot the pilot with him in it. But they brought him in. He talked with Kurt and the team. They offered him the role of this, the Tig role. And at first he read, he's like, oh, it's a little bit too dark for me. I don't think I like this. I can do this. And they convinced him to sign, and he did. And, 6 or 7 seasons later, the show was like a huge hit, So you just never know how it's going to happen, or anything like that. So it's just crazy, So every audition you go into, you give it your best performance. You may not get that role, which a lot of times you don't. You get something else that they like you for, or they know of other projects in the pipeline that you might be good for. So you never walk out of there with your head hung down, or saying, oh, I can do better, Give what you got. However you did it, just leave it the way it is and walk away, and be thankful, be a professional. Let the rest do itself. Exactly.
I mean, and it's funny that you mentioned that as well. I mean, again, going back to that show they were talking about a while back, and they like to, if it's the first time they're talking to them, they like to talk about their casting story with the show. And one of the main characters on there was John C. McGinley, who's been in a ton of stuff prior to that show.
I was going to talk about him too, actually. It's crazy with him.
So with him, they were actually putting out all these casting calls to everyone to fill this role of Dr. Cox. And in the description of Dr. Cox, it actually said John C. McGinley type. And they didn't even send it. They didn't even send the thing to him to
oh my God,
to audition or not. And he finally got somehow he ended up getting it, and he went to them and said, hey, you're looking for a John C. McGinley type, but yet you didn't even ask me to audition. Right. And they're like, well, we didn't think you would want to do something like this. And he's like, of course, why not? At least let me audition. And they ended up giving it to him. But it's like, that's just funny to me that, they were looking for someone exactly like him, and then they didn't even ask him to audition.
I tell you, I saw the interview with him, and he talked about that, and there's a little more to it. He when he went in to see the network execs to discuss, salary, he actually turned down 3 different salary proposals from them because he didn't feel that it was enough at the time. So he had like multiple sleepless nights just hoping he didn't do the wrong thing, and of course, obviously they met a number that he liked and stuff. So, but that was pretty ballsy on his part too. But I mean, it worked out for him.
Yeah, I mean, because when that show first came out, he actually was the most acclaimed actor on that show. I mean, because other than him, Judy Reyes didn't really have much to her credit. Donald Faison had Clueless, but I mean, other than that, I mean, Zach hadn't really done anything yet. That was really his first real gig. He hadn't even done Garden State yet. I mean, it was interesting. But I love that show because I mean, just the casting stories alone,
right? Yeah,
and it's a really good behind the scenes look at that kind of stuff. And like you said before, that behind the glitz and the glamour, there's a lot of stuff that just people don't understand.
No,
I mean, even when it comes to what I do, I mean, the prep and the talking to managers and talking to PR people and doing this and researching that and making sure that, all to come on the air for an hour and a half each night is a ridiculous amount of time. It takes me, I mean, I don't research my guests too much. I really don't. I usually just read a blurb about them just so I understand at least what they do.
Right.
And then everything else I like to hear from the horse's mouth.
Right.
But as far as the booking and the graphics design, I mean, just the little thing that's on our screen right now, I mean, it takes me a good half an hour to make every day. And then on top of that, promoting it and doing this and then booking and then it's so much.
There is a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, same thing with, the stand-up comic stuff. I mean, watching somebody on, Netflix or, YouTube for the first time, watching their stand-up set, you don't even realize that took 5 years, 6 years sometimes just to get that one 30-minute set or one hour-long set. And there's so much buildup in the entertainment business that a lot of people just don't see. And and that's one thing I love to do with this show is pull back that curtain and just kind of, say, hey, this is what really goes down, because it's something that's not talked about a lot.
No, it's not. And not to mention now with social media, now you got to be proactive with that too. So that's like another part-time job, and you got to balance that out right as well, because that's how you pretty much get your stuff out there. So, and my main thing is Twitter. Actually, I'm a big proponent of Twitter. I get the most engagement that way. And one thing that I did learn about is that you don't put it all there about the acting stuff. You got to keep it a variety, so people don't get tired of seeing that. So, and you got to engage with people, and you got to be sincere. Yeah. So, which is what I am, I mean, if someone's, writes something, then I'm going to answer them, but I'm going to relate it to what they're talking about, and I may remember that they mentioned something like maybe something bad that happened to them, a week ago. And if I see them again, I'm like, hey, whatever happened with that situation. So I do remember things that I see people, post about, and I'm curious to know, like a follow-up, well, what happened with that? And some people get kind of shocked about that. Like, oh, wow, you remember? Like, well, I do. Yeah. I mean, it's important to me.
Yeah. See, it's opposite for me. I actually get a higher engagement on Instagram than I do on Twitter. And I'm not exactly sure why. I'm starting to, I just didn't focus on Twitter for the longest time. I guess now I am. And the engagement's starting to get better, but Instagram for me is where it's at. I mean, I went from, 1,000 followers to 7,000 followers and now to 13,000 followers like overnight. It was just like, whoa, okay.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. But as far as the social media engagement goes, you're 100% right. I mean, if all I posted on my Instagram or my Twitter was nothing but stuff about the show, about promoting, oh, I got this person on tonight, see you tonight, it would get so boring and my engagement levels would be horrible. So I got to put other stuff on there. I got to do this, I got to do that. And, sometimes I even test the waters and put, crazy political stuff out there just to piss people off, just to create some drama.
Oh, God.
One of the people that is affiliated in a marital way with the PR firm that we were talking about, he had said the other day, if you're anywhere in the entertainment business, don't use your Facebook or Twitter or Instagram to talk about anything political. You got to remember that all eyes are watching you. And I'm like, you know what? I love you, Ron, but I can't do that. I love stirring up controversy. I love stirring, because again, when I do that, it brings back the engagement, regardless of whether I said something that people are going to hate me for or not. It brings people back, and then now they're paying attention again, and then I slam them with the guest tonight is, and then they're like, even though he pissed me off earlier, I guess I'll watch tonight. It looks pretty interesting.
Right. Hey, at least it works out for you. Yeah. I stay away from political stuff. I mean, I really do. I actually started following some political people just recently. Whether it's in my state or other states. Just to see what they have to say. And what I've noticed is that when they're either them or their staff post something, you look at the comments and people are just so negative about everything they say. It's like, well, great that you did that, but what about this? There's always something else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? Why not just say, hey, thanks for doing that? But it's just like, that's not enough. And so, I mean, I'll make a comment saying, hey, glad that you did that. Sounds great. Let's see how it goes. And that's the comment that I leave. But I stay neutral on most stuff. I just don't get in there, and to me, it's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah. I usually follow the most controversial ones like Ann Coulter and stuff like that. The ones that, yeah. See,
wow. Yeah.
See that kind of stuff I enjoy engaging on because, it's funny to me. And again, it's that controversy. I love controversy. Especially with like, with the governor of Florida, Rick DeSantis. That guy is such a tool, but I love, just talking shit, on the internet about it because it's just fun to me because especially my old friends that live in Florida still that are hardcore Republicans that love the guy. I'd love to see him just get pissed. Call me a troll, whatever, but
whatever.
What?
Hey, teach his own.
It works.
Whatever.
I do it for comedic purposes on my end because again I'm a comedian, so I mean it's one of the things I got to do. But I completely understand where you're coming from as far as staying that kind of way, that kind of stuff, and it's one of those things that you have to. It's the risk is higher than the reward sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah, it is, and I think I heard a lot of people, not people I've known, but a lot of people, things that they post, can get them fired from their job, or or worse, or other things along that line. So I keep straight and narrow because obviously I don't want to lose my job or nothing like that. And people I work with, they don't really get into politics much either. So I don't bring anything up as well. I keep it to myself. And actually lately, I don't even watch much of the news with everything because I'm so busy doing everything else. I get maybe I'll alert on my phone about something like, oh, hey, that's interesting. And that's about it. So
yeah, and that's one thing that I do hate about this job. It's the only thing I hate about this job is the fact that I do have to pay attention to that kind of stuff all the time because I mean, if I. Depending on the guest or whatever else, I always, depending on how good the conversation goes or whatever else, I always prepare a little bit of a monologue, just to kind of talk about, whether it be entertainment, whether it be about politics, whatever. But I constantly have to watch this stuff, and it just depresses the shit out of me. It really does, and it just, that's the one thing that bothers me, especially about doing it, just me. Because once you go away, if it's less than an hour, thankfully it's not, so I don't have to do a monologue tonight. I have nobody to riff off of, and so it's like, okay, I got to prepare for this. I got to either have a little bit of a rant or promote something else. And it's luckily there's a lot going on recently as far as entertainment goes, which I hope something good happens over the weekend. And let me tell you what I mean by that.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, or actually in about 3 hours-ish, about 3 hours-ish, Disney is releasing Mulan on Disney Plus as a premium package for that $30 extra bucks.
Okay.
However that happens with that, whatever happens with that movie is kind of be, in my opinion, going to be a test and a testament to everything else that we do going forward as far as entertainment goes. Bill and Ted got released on video on demand and went in the movie theater and did like $10 million in the first weekend. Same thing with New Mutants and a couple other, what was it, Unhinged movie with what's his name in it. But like, nobody's releasing the big movies. They're all holding back, like whether it be Tenet, whether it be, the Black Widow movie that's supposed to come out in, November, supposedly. Top Gun, a couple other ones too. Now they've all been kind of pushed around and nobody's really saying what they're going to be doing with them. But Disney took a risk with one of their biggest movies that they were planning on having for the year and saying, let's test the waters. And I think Universal, AT&T, Comcast, everybody's all watching what happens with this weekend. And I think it's going to be a big, indicator of how we're going to get our entertainment in the future. So how would you like to see it go forward? Do you want to go back to the movies? Do you not mind watching them at home? I mean, what do you want to see?
No, I enjoy the movie theater experience actually. I think, if it opens up right now, obviously, there all the social distancing and, sanitation stuff's got to be in place, obviously. But, I enjoy sitting in the theater and watching the big screen, personally. I mean, it is nice just to be able to be at home, watch a streaming service. You can lounge around whatever you want, and no one's really gonna care. You can binge watch whatever you want to watch. So, I mean, obviously, those companies are making some money based on what's going on. But, no, I definitely would want to go back to the theater and have that experience. I mean, kind of like have a date night out or something every once in a while.
Yeah.
So I enjoy doing that. So
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. But like, let's talk about Maverick for a second. It's 35-ish, 34, 36 years in the making. I can't remember, was it 84 or 86? Somewhere around there.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
exactly.
somewhere around there. But, it's 30 some odd years in the making, and, we got announced about it about 2.5, 3 years ago, and now it was supposed to come out this year, and now we're not going to be able to. Would you want to see, now, if you knew that for a fact movie theaters weren't going to open up for like the next year, hypothetically, would you want to see, them release that, at least on the video on demand, or hold on to it there for you can wait and actually see it in the theater?
That's a good question. I think, the theater experience would be the best way to see that. But do I want to wait another year? No. I mean, I'm probably good seeing it on a video on demand or something from my home. I'm good with that. But theater experience would be nice. But I mean, if they don't want to, then so be it. I mean, that's whatever they want to do. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty much easy going with it. Probably didn't answer your question the way you want, but I mean, it's just
No, it's completely fine because I kind of feel the same way about it. Because as you can see, I'm a giant nerd.
that's
And
fine. So am I.
I'm anxiously awaiting Black Widow to come out, and then Eternals was supposed to come out this year as well, but now that's pushed to next year. But if I can't go see Black Widow in a theater, just fucking give it to me. I don't care how I get it. I'll watch it on my computer screen for all I care.
Right.
But
right.
I'm so absorbed into the storyline. I'm ready for Phase 4. I've been ready for Phase 4 since Far From Home last year with Spider-Man, and now it's like, okay, I'm ready to get going because it was supposed to start in May with Black Widow, then they got moved all around and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like that series of films. I couldn't care less whether or not I saw it. I'm just ready to get my nerd on again.
Right.
I've read my comic books this year. I'm continuing to do that. I bought everything. I'm ready for the next movie. So that's how I feel about that.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I think now you can, multiple people can watch it at the same time, no matter where they're at and stuff, and in the comfort of your own home. So that's obviously the new wave of the future now, based on COVID and everything. So more power to them, and I guess just go on with it. I mean, whether or not movie theaters are going to make a comeback or not, who knows? I mean, it's over time things change and you got to adapt to it. So this may be the new thing of just staying home and watching it that way.
Yeah. Personally, I think AMC, Regal, whatever, they need to say, you know what? Screw it. Let's just go start opening up drive-ins again. I think drive-ins are the way of the future. I mean, the way of the past with the drive-ins is the way of the future. And in reality, they're not hard to, you could easily set one up really quickly, even as until things go back to normal again, which I don't know if it ever will, but, it's just, set up an FM station, put up a screen, there you go.
We actually don't have one far away from us that's still in operation, so we go there once in a while and check stuff out, and I mean, it's pretty empty. Usually there's maybe about 10 cars total to watch something there. So, but, obviously you gotta wait till it's dark, but coming wintertime now, it's gonna get dark earlier anyway. So
yeah,
but the drive-in's a great experience.
Yeah, we have one not too far from us either. And what I actually find interesting about that is not only is the drive-ins, still doing the movies, but they're also putting on music concerts. They're also putting on comedy shows. Right now Bert Kreischer is traveling the country doing nothing but parking lots and drive-ins. I mean, it's stellar to me. And who did I read that we're going to really do the same thing? Whitney Cummings is going to do the same thing. It's like it's fantastic. I mean, I definitely think drive-ins are the way to go.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. But who knows how what's going to happen with everything. I mean, it's crazy.
I know it changes daily, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I just got an email today, saying that my that concert that my friend got me tickets for my for Christmas, that was originally supposed to happen in May. It was supposed to happen in October. Is officially canceled now. And it's just like, we can't even go see music. It just sucks. And,
I know.
I haven't seen a single concert this year, obviously, along with nobody else too. But, I saw, I think it was like 10 or 11 shows last year. I mean, concerts I went to. And to not get to see any this year. I mean, that's who I feel for. I mean, I feel for the actors. I feel for musicians and comedians and stuff like that. It's just, it sucks because, I mean, a lot of people just think, they got money. They're very fine. But, it's their job. It's their craft. It's something that they enjoy doing. And, regardless of whether or not they have money or not, it's still, it's still their livelihood.
Right.
Yeah. So, exactly, But.
Yeah.
So, dude, I wish you nothing but the best. I mean, you are just a stellar individual.
Geez, thanks. Appreciate the compliments.
Hey, no problem. I mean, in all reality, I mean, even if I just sat here and you didn't have the acting stuff behind you, I mean, just the fact that, being in the military for 23 years and then going into, what you do now, I mean, that alone is complimentary. I mean, it's just a big, star on, your Hollywood Walk of Fame, showing how well, how awesome of an individual you are. I mean, so that just there is pretty awesome.
I thank you. I appreciate that. I just, to me, it's not about a star of the Walk of Fame or anything like that,
Correct.
I do find, I have a passion, for the acting. I have a lot of, experiences and emotions to tap into to deliver, decent performances and stuff. And, the hardest, I think, another hard part about being an actor is that, getting yourself out there and letting people know that, you're there and, give you a chance because, these big studios and and like Netflix and all them, they want to hire actors that are that they're in training, or not so much in training, but they're experienced, and they're going to do the job. And where they find them, that's like the biggest secret. How do you get found? So it's just being consistent and everything. And part of what I do too, I enjoy working out. So I try to work out, if not every day, every other day or something like that, just to stay fit, stay healthy, to be able to work long hours, whether it's my day job or on set, so you got to be well-rounded in this business, so you got to be ready at a moment's notice, be prepared for everything. And it's a constant daily thing, and I just enjoy it. I mean, to me, that's, the military taught me a lot about, balance and organization and preparedness, so that followed me out. And to be a good actor, you have to be prepared for anything, and be a professional. That's the whole thing. I think that's what they look for. So I try to strive that, and then I try to help others to motivate them and inspire them to be the best they can, and if you can inspire someone else to do that, then, then it's a win-win.
Exactly. I mean, and that's exactly what I say with this show. I mean, my goal is with with this whole show is, mental health related. It's all about, if I can let one person know that, hey, you're not alone in this world, and of the 25,000 that listen to this show every day, it's like, if I help one of them, that's all that matters to me. If I can talk one person out of, committing suicide, or one person convinced to get help, or whatever the case might be, to not end up in a, mental situation like I was or have been,
right.
It's still, even though I joke around about it and I make fun of it all the time. I mean, the 2 suicide attempts that I had and the bipolar disorder that I do carry with me is a huge burden on my life. And the only way I can get through it is by making fun of it and laughing about it and, making jokes. But you know what? Not everybody can do that.
No.
So I'm hoping that by somebody else seeing that I can do that, or whether it be you or anybody else that I bring on the show that's had the same issues, they can say, okay, I might not be able to do what they're doing, but if they can manage, so can I. And that's all that matters to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, and my advice for anyone out there that, is thinking about maybe doing acting or anything like that, is, find a coach, get coaching lessons, get training. That's like the first start of everything. And from there, you find the right coach and they can lead you in the right direction. So that's probably the best advice I give anyone that wants to be in the business, because it's a lot of work. And if you're not willing to put forth the work and the effort, and a a ton of rejection, then all you want is the money and the stardom. Don't even bother.
Yeah. Well, and plus, like you said earlier, not be afraid of rejection. And I'm going to add something to that as well. Carry on burn cream, because you're going to get burned a lot.
Yeah, that does happen too. So
Getting that thick skin is hard sometimes.
it is. I mean, I did suffer from that a few times, but my skin is thick enough now, where if someone criticizes me, I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to criticize me, at least give me some advice or recommendation on how to fix what you're talking about. If you can't do that, then really, I don't want to hear it,
Yeah.
But no one's perfect. So you got to be self-confident. If you feel self-confident, it'll show with what you're doing, and people can see that.
Yeah. 100%. 100% agree with you. Dude, again, I wish you nothing but the best, and
Thanks.
I can't wait to see what your next project's going to be. And
Me either. Oh God.
But I wish you, like I said, I hope that hope big things are in the horizon for you, man.
I can only hope. I mean, and pray. I'm saying I'm just gonna keep doing what I do, put my stuff out there. And if something good comes along, then great. And hope for the best. But obviously, thankful to my agency and a manager, Al Honorado out in LA. He's one of the founding fathers of the Casting Society of America. So he's out there doing his thing. So them and my PR team, is great. Jimmy Starr and Eileen Shapiro, great people. All these great people working, for me and stuff, supporting me. So I got to do my part, and we'll see what happens. But I do appreciate the opportunity to be on the show.
Absolutely.
And best of luck to you and everything that you're doing, and what you have going on. So
I appreciate that.
of
But
course.
definitely stay in touch, man. And I would love to have you back on again one day.
I'd love to be on. Sure, no problem.
Absolutely, man. Well, you have a good rest of your week.
All right,
Be
you
safe
too.
be safe in the air, and
Will do.
we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, take care.
All right, you
See
too,
everybody.
All right, man. Have a
Bye.
good one. Bye-bye. All right. That was a fun interview. Good stuff. I enjoy that kind of stuff. That's just, that's what this show is all about. Interesting people with interesting stories. And he's definitely a class act. And don't get much better than that. But again, I appreciate everyone being here tonight. Come back tomorrow, and I have a musician with me, Pearl Chemistry. Joining me tomorrow, same time, same place, 8 p.m. East, 5 p.m. West, right here on this channel. So join me tomorrow for a Friday, and we will lead you into the weekend right. But until then, stay healthy, stay happy, and as always, stay fucking heavy. Y'all have a good night now.